But maybe some of them are waking up here because we got a new poll out that even Jen Psaki was shocked over these poll results. Folks, this is one you're going to absolutely love here. Make sure you support us by hitting that like and subscribe button. So Jen Psaki, if you recall, the circle back girl, the former White House press secretary that turned to MSNBC talking head, expressed shock on Tuesday that some Democrats will vote for candidates who question the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. Yes, you heard that correctly. That some Democrats will vote for candidates who question the outcome of the 2020 elections. They're probably waking up, you guys, because everybody's looking at Joe Biden going, yeah, this is weird. Donald Trump completely books out entire arenas and football stadiums with thousands of people in standby lines outside. Everything Joe Biden has done, from his presidential campaign to literally being president of the United States, still can't fill a stadium. Still can't get people out. Explain that one to me. The most popular president in American history can't even turn out thousands of people to an arena, where Donald Trump gets it on a monthly to weekly basis every single time. Explain that one to me. Furthermore, you look at this guy talk. He fights with his teleprompter. I know we go through this list all the time. Fights with his teleprompter. Makes up stories about his life that he's been making up literally for decades now. Probably thinks it's real. Literally said his own son died in Iraq. His son did not die in Iraq. It's a litany of things. Still thinks at times that he's vice president or that he's running for senator. He hits golf balls backwards. He falls up flights of stairs. He gets lost going to the Oval Office. You have to have the Easter Bunny out there to chauffeur him around and help him out. He has to have cue cards to tell him to sit down and to stop talking, to ask questions. He has pre-vetted questions from the press. He has yet to get on the White House podium and actually answer the press pool's questions. Again, we're going on 2 years now. I mean, it's thing after thing after thing. And you would think that at some point, as we've been asking for, that Democrats would acknowledge that this guy's not there. That Democrats would acknowledge that they voted in a guy that's senile. That Democrats would acknowledge their mistake that they put in place. Look, we all acknowledge as Republicans and conservatives here on the Bald Brad channel that Donald Trump says idiotic things every now and then. But he didn't do idiotic things. Joe Biden says and does stupid things. So maybe Democrats are waking up. So from this poll, this was what Jen Psaki posted on Twitter. She said, holy moly, CNN/New York Times poll, quote, more than a third of independent voters and a smaller but noteworthy contingent of Democrats said they were open to supporting candidates who reject the legitimacy of the 2020 election, end quote, as they focus on economic issues. So what she's saying is that the going against or rejecting the legitimacy of the 2020 election isn't on the top tier issues or isn't one of the major top tier issues of Americans, whereas the economic issues of basically inflation and the change in their pocketbook have fluctuated. That's where they're at right now. In other words, they're the countertop issues, the kitchen table issues. If you notice, I made the joke there from Joy Behar of The View that she made a while ago. Countertop issues, kitchen table issues. It's unbelievable. Well, the New York Times Siena poll discovered that nearly 40% of voters, registered voters to be specific, are open to supporting candidates who question the outcome of the 2020 election results. Breaking down those results along demographic lines, get this. This one doesn't come as a shock. 71% of Republican voters said they were open to supporting such candidates. I actually think it's a little bit higher than that. While 37% of independent voters said they would as well. And then you have 12% of Democratic voters who also admitted they were open to supporting those candidates. Now, there would be a little bit of hypocrisy coming from the Democratic aisle if you said, I wasn't. So you have a huge margin of Democrats that aren't in support of somebody that oppose the 2020 elections, when we've seen for decades now Democrats opposing elections. I don't know, who was the last one? I don't know, maybe Hillary Clinton. She wrote an entire book on it. How about that one? Or I don't know, Stacey Abrams of Georgia still thinks that she's the governor or running for governor or was elected as governor of Georgia. It's unbelievable. So just the hypocrisy there coming from the Democrats. But hell, at least 12% of them woke up. Am I not wrong, folks? Meanwhile, the poll found that 71% of registered voters believe American democracy is under threat versus 21% of registered voters who do not. Now, this is where you get into certain biases in what we call surveys or observational studies, which is what these polls are. Again, I teach statistics. So the 71% of registered voters who believe American democracy is under threat, you would expect that number to be high because you're going to have independents, You're going to have Republicans and Democrats flowing into this because it's such a generalized question that everybody would think that the democracy is under threat, because Republicans think that democracy is under threat from the Democrats, and Democrats think the democracy is under threat from the Republicans because of January 6th. And we think it's under threat because of just the ideology of the Democrat Party being absorbed by the progressive left and Joe Biden being in office. So you would expect that number even to be 71% or hell, even higher. So I don't know where those 21% of registered voters are, but hell, they might be living under a rock. The results of the poll suggest that American voters are susceptible to Democratic rhetoric that claims Republicans are threatening American democracy, which is what I just stated. But the results also prove that the rubber meets the road. Voters are apathetic to the alleged threat, or they do not believe that questioning election outcome endangers democracy. At the very least, it shows voters care more about, or most about, the issues like the economy, inflation, and crime, of which is all just going down the drain under the Democrat Party. Remember, they're the defund the police party, they're increase inflation party, and they're destroy your economy party. That's really what they are. Cool. I don't believe that their opinion on whether or not the election was quote unquote stolen is important. I'm far more concerned about their stance on policies that actually matter. This comes from one independent voter who told the Times. And how do you feel about the state of the economy? So they're more, as you should be, on policies rather than what people say. But that's not how they voted in the last election. They voted because they were upset with Donald Trump's tweets. They voted because he said mean things. Well, now you got a guy that says idiotic, mean things, dumb things, and the whole litany of things, and is screwing you in your pocketbook. So how do you feel about your vote now? I hope you're happy, because a lot of Americans, the vast majority of Americans, lost about $4,300 since Joe Biden's been in office. Go take a peek at your 401k and let me know how that one is, because you're not talking about $4,300. You're talking about you lost way more than that, and you're getting screwed at the pump, and you're being screwed at the border, and children are dying because of fentanyl. I mean, just litany of issues going on here. Perhaps the greatest irony of the New York Times Siena poll is that respondents who said they believe democracy is under threat were more likely to attribute that threat to Democrats than Republicans. Let that one sink in, Joe Biden. Let that one sink in, Stacey Abrams. Perhaps the greatest irony, I'm going to repeat this, of the New York Times Siena poll is that respondents who said they believe democracy is under threat were more likely to attribute that threat to the Democrats than Republicans. It just shows you January 6th is not a major issue. I know the White House wants to push it. Americans don't give a two. And to give you perspective, Americans care more about what Black Lives Matter and Antifa did during those riots under Donald Trump's administration, where they destroyed minimum $2 billion worth of property, whereas the January 6th event was $1.5 million. To put that in perspective, the January 6th events was 0.00075% of the damage caused by BLM and Antifa. The damage done on the Capitol building was nowhere near, not even in the realm, not even 1/100%, not even 1,000th%, or barely. You're looking at the damage that BLM and Antifa did, which is a part of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has been absorbed by the progressive left, which is why you see me talk hand in hand now. It's the progressive left that loves abortions. It's the progressive left that want to defund the police. It's the progressive left that want to sit there and hurt your pocketbook. It's the progressive left that wants to get rid of the fossil fuel industry. Who does that sound like? That sounds exactly like what Joe Biden was talking about in that first segment. It sounds a lot like the policies Joe Biden wants to put in place. It talks a lot about the policies that Joe Biden supported, as well as the Democrat Party. So like I said, they're almost in unison here. The main difference, really one of the main difference as of right now, is the Democrat Party still, somewhat shape or form, believes in free speech, whereas the progressive left doesn't. But even that's evaporating slowly. And I would imagine at some point, the Democrat Party won't even believe in free speech here in the next 10 years. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.